Call to order the Westfield, Washington Township Advisory Planning Commission meeting to order for Monday, March 16th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. Staff, would you please ascertain the presence of a quorum?
Mr. Bungaphist?
Present.
Mr. Horke?
Here.
Mr. Kahn?
Present.
Dr. Keene?
Here.
Ms. Carlson?
Here.
Mr. McCarty?
Here.
Mr. Mooney? Mr. Neal?
Present.
And Mr. Waniger?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. I have no items to announce as far as changes to the agenda. Next item is approval of the previous meeting minutes from March 11th, 2026. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Moved by Councilor McCarty. Is there a
Second.
second? Seconded by Mrs. Carlson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move to a staff presentation of this evening's rules of procedure. Weston, the floor is yours.
Yep, thank you, President. Tonight's meeting is a workshop meeting, so just wanted to cover a few general rules of procedure. First, the department will introduce the petition, stating when the item was last before the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission and petitioner will then discuss changes made to the ordinance. Once the discussion is finished, the department will summarize the final changes that are expected to be made prior to the petition returning for a recommendation if necessary. General rules of conduct: please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, then we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time. If you must answer your device, then please quietly exit the room. We would like to remind those attending virtually to please mute your microphone when not speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Weston. We have no consent agenda items for this evening, so we'll move directly to items of business. 2512-CP-01, which is the City of Westfield Comprehensive Plan. We will start with the first part of our staff report with Caleb Ernest. Good evening. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, President. So just to reiterate here that the comprehensive plan was before you at the March 11th public hearing. Just to go over kind of how the flow of this is going to go. After my brief introduction here, I'm going to hand it over to the mayor. The mayor is going to cover a little bit of the context, how we got here to the comprehensive plan, where we've been, where we're headed, just to provide more of that supplemental detail. After which, Cynthia Bowen of REA is going to be here. She's going to go over a memo of the comprehensive plan. In that memo is going to be a couple items, one of which is going to be covering REA and staff's response to the general public comments that were made at the March 11th public hearing, what the concerns were and generally how they were responded to, either in the comprehensive plan or by staff and or REA. Also in the memorandum is going to be some brief updates that show the acknowledgements page updated, the land use matrix updated, and a list of other general updates that are going to be made to the comprehensive plan. For clarification, on the agenda, you do have Exhibit 1 that shows City of Westfield Comprehensive Plan. That is a link to the comprehensive plan document that was on the agenda at the March 11th meeting. So just clearly stating that the updated comprehensive plan is not part of the agenda. That will be on the March 23rd meeting for the City Council. The reasons why is because changes have not been made yet, but those changes that I referred to in the memo that Cynthia is going to go over, those are the plan changes that will be made for that City Council meeting. So in addition to that, just want to thank you for your time, and we'll hand it over to the mayor here.
All right. We call to the floor Mayor Scott Willis. Good evening, sir, and welcome back to the Plan Commission.
Good evening. Scott Willis, Mayor, City of Westfield. First off, let me start by saying thank you to each and every one of you for the work that you do on behalf of our city. I sat in your chair probably 6-7 years ago. I know how much work goes into this. I know how little you get paid for your efforts. And we are certainly thankful for your hard work and diligence in making sure that the planning that we do here in Westfield is thorough and comprehensive in nature. I just wanted to come and just fill you in briefly on a few things I've already shared with City Councilors. So I know Councilor McCarty and Waniger have heard this. My apologies in advance. There's very little new content, but I want to just make sure that you on the APC had this before you vote this evening on the comprehensive plan. First off, I'd like to give you just a little bit of history. Many of you up there know this history, but I'd like to cover it just real briefly. The first comprehensive plan was passed in 2007. And at the time, roughly 138 residents participated in that process, which at the time, based on our population, it was about 0.5%. And if you talk to people who are involved in this, I think a few people up on the stage may have been. By the time it was done, probably about 50 people remained. It got very political. It got very confrontational. People bowed out. And I think the committee did an excellent job for the first comprehensive plan for the town of Westfield, soon to be the city of Westfield. But it was the first one. If you look at the bottom right-hand screen, right-hand picture on the screen, that is what the comprehensive plan looked like. And as you can tell from that, not a lot of details. I was told I was never really, I didn't participate in this. I wasn't really involved in the city, although I lived here back then. But from what I hear, it was very intentional to be vague in language. And I can remember when I was on APC having conversations around, well, what does density mean? It's supposed to get less dense as you go west out of the city center. What does density mean? How do you define density? Does a parking lot count? Does a retention pond count? So there was a lot of ambiguity, and it put a lot of pressure and a lot of friction on you up on stage to have to dissect what the plan intended for and what the development was calling for. Over the last 18, 19 years, we've had 8 major addendums made to that plan. And as I showed down below, there's really only 6 broad land use categories that were identified in this plan. So this new comprehensive plan, Advancing Westfield 2045, involved over 6,000 residents. Not all participated live. We had a lot of opportunities and a lot of different ways for residents to participate. But over the last 18 plus months, over 10% of the population participated in this plan. There are 19 very specific place types that have been identified in this new plan. So as you can tell, we've gone from a very broad vision for the city to a much more specific vision. I think that will help you all and guide you all in your decisions moving forward into the future. But I think it adds more clarity to our residents. If you're looking at the back of your yard and it's a cornfield right now, you can look on this plan and understand very clearly what's coming in the future. And I think that's important because land in Westfield is not cheap. And if you're going to invest in land, we owe it to you to be very clear what the future might hold for that. I'll also add that this was an 18-month process. It was very thorough. Is this plan perfect? Well, it depends on who you talk to, but I think most people would say no, and I would agree with that. I don't think anybody got everything they wanted, but I think it's a plan, a good plan moving forward, and if the last process is any indication what's going to happen in the future, I expect changes will occur in the next decade or two. So a little historical perspective on why. Why are we doing this comprehensive plan? Why are we growing here in Westfield? Well, in 2005, then Governor Mitch Daniels announced the Major Moves Transportation Plan. And probably most of you, a few of you might have been in high school then, and maybe you didn't pay attention, but that really changed the future of Westfield. When I moved in Westfield in 2004, this wasn't contemplated. I think a lot of people who lived here at the time thought, well, we'll remain a small town. Certainly I moved to Westfield thinking it was going to be a small town. But what that Major Moves Transportation Plan did is it turned US 31 into a bypass. And from I-465 all the way to South Bend, as you know now, all the stoplights, all the off-ramps, stop signs, you name it, all that was eliminated. And it dramatically reduced the amount of commute time to get from Westfield into the downtown area. I can remember that you could get on 32, and I swear, or 31, I swear they timed it so that you would hit every stinking stoplight along the way. It'd take you 20 minutes to get to 465 from Westfield. And now you can be into Indianapolis in 5-10 minutes, depending on traffic flow. That set in motion where we're at today, and that is we are now a suburb. No, we're not a town. No, we're not a small town. We are a suburb of the city of Indianapolis, which is one of the top 10 or 15 major metropolitan areas in our country. You may not like that, and I appreciate that because, again, when I moved to Westfield, certainly wasn't what I was looking for, but it is where we are today, and we have two choices. We can put our head in the sand and pretend like that isn't happening, and that creates problems down the road. Just drive through Fishers and you know what I'm talking about. Or we can be proactive and try to lean into this and create a vision for the future. History also tells us that we will consume this township. I'm not in any hurry. I could care less if it happens in my lifetime, but it's going to happen. It's happened in Carmel. It's happened in Fishers. Noblesville's actually on their second township. So we're going to grow, and we're going to continue to do that. So it's important that we have a plan, so as farmers and landowners are looking for an exit strategy out of Westfield, Washington Township, we have control over what that future looks like. So let's go through why this is important. First off, this plan will shape the future of our township for the next 2 decades. It aligns land use, transportation, utilities, economic development, and quality of life to a single framework. It allows the city to grow with purpose, vision, and intentionality. It creates a unified vision for the entire township. Folks, lately we've been doing, as you know, 80, 100 acres at a time. It's very inefficient. It creates all kinds of roads and infrastructure issues, as you can tell as you sprawl out of the city center of our community. And it's just not a great way to develop a city. It supports Westfield Washington Schools District's plan. The schools have invested into the future of this city. Right now, with what they have planned and the money they're spending, if we don't grow, it will collapse financially, our school district, because they're building based on the fact that they're assuming, like everybody else, that we're going to consume the township. Now, that doesn't mean we have to do something haphazardly or we have to cave under the pressure of the schools to just pass things. That's not what I'm saying. But certainly, shutting the township down and saying we're not growing anymore would be catastrophic. It does provide options for landowners. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I could care less if a single landowner sells their property. I could care less if Westfield adds another home to our community, but that's not real. And quite frankly, those landowners were here well before most of us were. And quite frankly, unless you're an original settler of the township of Westfield, Washington, which goes back to American Indians, the land has been developed and changed hands over time. And every time it changes hands, something new changes. And so it's up to us to have a vision for that. And then last, farming has become difficult. I don't know if people in this room understand how expensive land is today. Right now, we're looking at anywhere from $100,000 to $100,000, $100,000 to $110,000 per acre. Per acre. We have one farmer, our largest farmer right now in Westfield, Washington Township, owns a little over 2,000 acres. I won't do the math. I'll let you do that. But 2,000 times 100,000, that's Peyton Manning level of wealth. That's life-changing. And it's unrealistic for us to sit here and say, I like looking at that cornfield. You can't sell it for my benefit because I enjoy the view. That's just not realistic. Not to mention the taxes they pay on it, the pressure we're putting from all the growth. They didn't ask for it. They've inherited it. And we owe it to them to have an exit ramp out. Again, maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe farmers aren't in any hurry, but I can tell you, matter of fact, they can sell 1 acre in Westfield and buy 2 or 3 acres in just about any county in Indiana. So it's likely that's going to happen. So let's talk about the map. It balances residential and commercial development, which is absolutely critical. We won't deep dive into the commercial development numbers we did with council. It's probably more of a council function, but I know you all have heard me say when I was running for mayor that 90% of our tax base right now is based on residential. It's not healthy, it's not stable, it's not sustainable. And we have a huge gap right now in future costs for our city. If that doesn't change, I don't want to begin to project what would happen to our city and how we would cover that gap, but it's millions and millions of dollars. We need a commercial tax base, and we don't have it in our current comprehensive plan to build that out. So it's important that we carve that out in this next comprehensive plan. We're going to create multiple villages in the township to include Hortonville, Eagletown, Juliettville, Lamont. Hey, this may never happen. Obviously, you guys have Hortonville in front of you that you're going to be voting on Ironstone later today. Why is that important? Look, folks, you can do it 50 acres at a time, and I have no money to pay for roads and infrastructure, and we can continue to hear the residents complain, and rightfully so. Or we can do larger developments like this, which is my vision moving forward. You're going to see more of these coming after Ironstone gets through City Council. That project generates almost 10.5, $11 million in road impact fees. Now that we know the vision, we can improve the infrastructure day one. We don't have to wait until everything's done and then go back and try to find a way to fix it. We can build it as we build those homes. And that's absolutely critical. We owe it to our residents who have very difficult passages to get to 31 or 32 or wherever they commute to work. We owe it to them to be more proactive, and larger developments give us that ability to do that. We're going to use riverfront districts along our waterways, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. So if you see this crazy blue line kind of out in the middle of nowhere, believe it or not, that's probably a creek. And in Indiana, even if it's a dry creek bed that hadn't seen water in 100 years, if it's a creek, we can call it a river district, and it changes how we develop, and it gives us a lot of advantages like liquor license and other things that are currently based purely on population. Downtown, we've been able to transform downtown because although we don't rate any more liquor license for our population, downtown's in a floodplain, and it's also on Cool Creek, which is a riverfront district, and that's why we're able to build that out. This plan also creates areas for high tech and life science, which again is critical to building out our commercial tax base. So I'll go through this quickly. Again, this is more for council. With this new plan, when it is completely built out, it could be 20 years, 100 years, 1,000 years from now, 40% of our tax base will be at the 3% rate. That is pure commercial, okay? 30% will be at the 2% rate. That is mixed use, that's multifamily, farmland, those types of uses. And 23% will be at the 1% rate, which is residential. Again, right now we're at 90-10. Big difference, a whole new vision for the township. We're also going to extend trails extensively. If you look at the picture at the bottom right, that is the new plan. 19 different uses. There will be clear understanding of what's coming in the future. A couple things, and this is my new slide, so you counselors, listen to this, is my new material for the day. And this is really a reaction to some of the comments we heard. I listened in on the introduction that you guys did in the public forum that was held. First off, the comprehensive plan does not rezone anything. If you currently have zoning rights on a piece of property where it's a single-family home or a commercial property, we have no authority to rezone anything through this comprehensive plan. It's a vision of the future. If you seek out a rezone of your property, this is where it comes into play. But this plan does not do anything around zoning. The city is not asking you for sell your property. Let me say it one more time. We do not expect, nor do we ask for you to sell your property. That is your God-given right as an American. Property rights matter, and if you choose to sell, good for you. But that's not what we're asking for. We're just trying to be proactive with the vision so that the city doesn't continue to sprawl in a way that doesn't leave a long-term sustainability to the overall build-out. The existing tax revenue for the city is not sustainable long-term. I've talked about this just a minute ago. Changes have to be made to pay just for our current infrastructure. We don't add another building. It's not sustainable right now, folks. We have a cliff we will drive off of in about 20 or 30 years, and the city will be upside down. Something has to change. Farmers have options and can continue to farm if they desire. If a single farmer doesn't sell their land, nothing will change. I can't promise that will happen. I haven't talked to any of the farmers about it. But we're not asking for a farmer to sell, nor has anyone expressed any interest in me in doing so. Each one of us here today, we're here because someone decided to sell their land. Nobody here, and my descendants come to this community in 1866. None of us are here other than somebody decided to do something with their property. And that's reality. So I love it. You hear it all the time. Close the door behind me. Now that I'm here, I don't want anything else to change or anybody else to come here. That's not fair because all of us are here because somebody was willing to give up some of their land for somebody else. And with that, I believe that is my last comment. Nope. One last thing I do want to say is publicly, just like I did before in the city council, REA, great job. If you look at that document, folks, it's so thorough. You may not like everything in it, but it is head and shoulders above what we did in 2007. So many citizens led steering committees, subcommittee members, folks that showed up and just weighed in public meetings, got online, took time out of their day. Everybody has suggestions on what we should do. Very few people actually show up and voice their and extend their voice in the process. For that, I am thankful. My staff, literally every department head, read every page in this comprehensive plan. We took a day off right before the holidays and spent the whole day looking back at the map, crunching it, revisiting it, changing things. I appreciate every bit of work they put into it. And then lastly, special thanks to Kevin Todd, Caleb Ernest, the entire long-range planning team. This was a monumental lift. At the same time, we got ironstone, we got massive amounts of development coming through. These guys did a magnificent job in trying to balance home life, work life, and the needs of our city, and for that I'm thankful. And with that, I will turn it over to REA.
Thank you, Mayor. Cynthia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good evening again, Commissioners. So what I want to do now is talk through, the staff and I met last week and then again today to talk through how we needed to respond to the public's comments at the last meeting. And so what we've done is put together a memorandum that can also be found on the project website that talks about the changes that we think we need to make to this plan. So what I'm going to do is go over what the concern was, high level, that we heard from the public, and then talk about what we're doing to address that. And so the first one was the adoption pace. That one I think was thoroughly covered by you all as the commission members as well as the mayor this evening, so I don't know that I need to add anything more to it. The second one is development and future housing. And the comments surrounding that focused on us allowing more apartments and duplexes, the perception of low occupancy rates in the various housing types, and the higher intensity of some of the other housing that we're proposing. So, as I told you that last evening, it is really important that we make sure Westfield offers a variety of housing choices for people coming to the community. Because we don't want only well-established families. We want to be able to attract young professionals and young families, young couples who are looking to start a family. We want to make sure, we have the quality of life here. We want to make sure we have the type of housing that can sustain that type of growth. We know as time continues on that these single-family dwelling units are becoming more unaffordable. And so we know that the state legislature recently through House Bill 1001 was looking to make several changes that took control away from local governments to manage housing types. So they are going to be watching very, very carefully how each community responds to that. So what we did here is we provided some links. The council was very concerned about housing occupancy amongst the rentals, especially those new ones on the market. So they commissioned a study to be done. And that information was presented to the council on September 8th of 2025. And so we provide a link to that direct meeting so that people can see what the results of that study were. We also wanted to know that there are several guidelines in each of these different place types. And in those guidelines, the goal of that is to manage the character of that new development. And so after this process, what the city staff are starting to prepare to do is to update the Unified Development Code. And the reason is the Unified Development Ordinance is the one that actually implements the standards that are within this comprehensive plan. This is merely a guide, and if they want to continue to manage that quality of development, those standards are going to have to be updated and consistent with what we have here. Additionally, each individual place type has comments specifically on that character, how it should be developed, how it sits on the site, what it needs to look like, and representative images that show, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so those place types start on page 39 within the comprehensive plan. Regarding the village concept, we heard quite a few things about the village concept. There are many who questioned whether this concept was viable or should be proposed for the township. As the mayor said, eventually the township will build out completely. We don't know when that's going to be, but the one thing that we do want to be is we want to be in that driver's seat so we can manage that character. The villages of Joliet, Lamont, Eagletown, and Hortonville were actually established in the last plan, the 2007 plan, as individual villages. We have carried that concept forward into the 2045 plan. And the reason is we want to make sure that those areas become functional community nodes that focus on reestablishing the transportation grid, creating walkable mini neighborhood nodes that provide services and needs to the adjacent neighborhoods every single day. So what we did was we went back and took a look at the descriptions within each of the place types, and we also looked at the land use matrix. And we made some adjustments within the land use matrix to ensure that it comes in line with the description that we have for each place type. We've also will be replacing the two bottom images on page 87, which caused some consternation within the public, with additional images that are more representative of the smaller scale commercial or small scale mixed use that you would truly find in these neighborhood nodes. And you see some examples of the images right there that we would replace those images with. Regarding infrastructure and quality of life, there were comments about the transportation network, flooding downstream, and the loss of farmland. While we've specifically created the agri-hood, the estate rural and equestrian, and the parks and open space to really identify key areas to protect existing farmsteads and the rural character associated with them and the surrounding development. And so we highlight where you can find those specific place types and their descriptions within the comprehensive plan. In each of the place types, stormwater management has been addressed. What needs to happen, how that needs to happen, and what that may look like. Additionally, we have an entire section on utilities as a major theme of the plan, and that can be found in Chapter 3, the themes and goals. So we identified several goals, and we identified several objectives. So in Chapter 6, connecting it all together, which starts on page 238, there are specific actions for addressing stormwater utilities. And then in Chapter 7, under the implementation matrix, we take each of those action steps and talk about these are the next steps. This is who is involved in this. This is how it needs to get done. This is the time frame on which that needs to happen. One of the things that we did note was one of the key partner agencies was not listed, which was the county surveyor's office. So we will be adding that into that particular line item. The next one is lack of green space. And there was some concern about green space and affordable sports facilities in the plan. Well, first off, last year you had a 5-year Parks and Recreation plan that was completed. That will be incorporated by reference into this comprehensive plan so that the Plan Commission, when making development decisions, can pull in some of those recommendations. Additionally, we had another theme called quality of place, which was documented in Chapter 3. This section focused on goals of the plan and then has, just like the other chapters, specific action items within the implementation matrix. There were things in there that talked about various open space, how much should be there, as well as the different types of recreation that should be made available to the community. We also had, under each place type, a section called bicycle and pedestrian under the mobility section, and amenities and open space under the site design sections within each place type. And so those contain guidelines on what developments should be incorporating into their plans before they come to the Plan Commission. Number 6 was historic preservation. And we had a couple who were interested in making sure that they could protect their home. Well, this particular, like the Parks and Recreation Plan, this is covered by the downtown place type, which has its own master plan that will be guiding this. We've checked with that plan, and this property is included within that particular plan. There was a mention about a road extension, specifically a concern between 151st Street and Westfield Boulevard in the Bainbridge neighborhood, which might also be referred to as the old Briarwood Lane neighborhood. What we ended up realizing is that our figures were not clearly spelled out and labeled. So one of the changes that we will be making is we will be noting every figure, every graphic, every chart with a figure number, and then creating a list, a table of contents in order to jump directly to those figures. And we will clean up that title between the existing, the now current 2007 plan, in which map is the 2045 plan, because the 2045 plan did not have that particular improvement on it. The last one is the agri-hood definition. And there was identified some conflicts between the agri-hood place type description and what the land use matrix said. So the staff and I went back and reviewed that. Again, we made changes to the land use matrix based on that description and took some things out. We also looked at the bottom right photo, which was also mentioned by the public, that it wasn't as representative of the character of an agri-hood, and we will be replacing that photo with something that's more consistent. The end of the memo ends with number 9, other changes. So after us kind of reviewing what the public had to say, as well as going back and looking over the map, there are a series of other changes that we need to make. And this can be anything from doing a re-PDF of the file so we have a higher quality of the images coming out, to updating the acknowledgements page, which we have attached, to adding in the Plan Commission and City Council resolutions. We also have noted the land use matrix changes, and then we have a few map changes that we need to make so that the map that I presented to the council or to the Plan Commission is consistent with where we're actually heading. And so with that, I do want to say a big thank you to staff as myself and REA. We have worked very close in partnership with the staff, all of the staff, as the mayor said, throughout this entire process, and couldn't be more proud of the document that's been created. We believe this document is representative of the vision going forward, and this is the plan that will guide Westfield in that future vision. If you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer it. Just one last note, if you were to choose to adopt this, and I hope you do, you will need to make in your motion that we incorporate all the changes that we have in this memorandum, so those changes can be made and go forward onto the council. I'm sure staff would mention that to you, but I wanted to make sure I also mentioned
Glad you did. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you
very much. Before I turn this over to commissioners for discussion and then moving the resolution, I do want to say that this comprehensive plan and what we've done here over the last 18 months is the most historic thing that the city has done since Grand Park. It's the biggest thing that we've done since Grand Park. And it's not lost on me or I think anyone on this dais, regardless of where you how you feel on this or anything like that, that the work that has been put into this is tremendous. It's an overwhelming task to put together a plan for decades ahead of where we are today. And so thank you to each and every person who's been a part of that, and to my fellow commissioners for all the work that you have put in to review and read and send emails and come to public hearings. It's a big deal. So with that, I'll turn it over for discussion, and then before we make a motion, I have some instruction related to that and how we'll have to proceed in order to move this forward. Commissioners, discussion, comments, questions, concerns, statements. Councilor McCarty.
Yeah, just wanted to, again, explain why I'm voting the way that I am. A little bit of the good with a little bit of the bad. I did, though, have positive conversations with staff on Thursday and Friday last week after the meeting on Wednesday. And I do want to reiterate that I agree with a lot that is in this plan. I appreciate all the work that's gone into it. And a few changes I've been advocating for will be implemented. Ultimately, though, I have to represent my constituents, and all the comments I've received are in regard to preserving a rural character in the Northwest, particularly where you see the gold and the pink in that fifth borough there. So in treating the Northwest similar to the Southwest, that would be much appreciated, which unfortunately at this point in time, I'm still a no, because that gold and pink, it's higher density. And the current character today that exists is larger lot styles, and much of what we have discussed is how do we transition from what currently exists to what can be in the future. And I know this will come up in the next discussion item as well, and at some point in time you have to have that transition buffer there. So that's why, unfortunately, I'm still a no for this evening, but thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from commissioners? Dr. Keene?
I'll make a couple comments. I'm going to do historical perspective on this. I arrived here in 1996. The city, or the town, had just built a wastewater treatment plant, which required so many hookups a year to generate revenue to pay off the bonds. That was really the impetus for growth. If you ever talk about the Wild Wild West or the Wild Wild Westfield, it occurred after that because growth was going everywhere. It didn't matter. We just needed hookups, or the town needed hookups. And being part of the school, if we built a school, we also ran the sewer lines, ran the water lines, and the developers out there said, we have hookups, so we can put in subdivisions and come forward. So growth was wherever schools went or whatever, and it was really haphazard. And I don't know what they called it. In 2003, I still call it a comp plan, but the plan was finally adopted. It kind of brought everything together with the township and the town to give direction and guidance to things going forward. And that was at least we have an idea of a direction. And then, of course, 2007 came along, and people wanted that to be the 10 Commandments brought down from the mountaintop, and nothing ever changed. And obviously, for most people, it was a guide, as this is a guide. So I have to say, looking at all the iterations, all the work, from where we were to where we are now, this is phenomenal. And I'm all for this, knowing that there's still some issues here. It's not like town council adopts this next week. All future things we say, well, this is the new plan, we're not going to consider the old plan. We're adults, we're humans. We have to do some transitions. People bought homes, people did things under an old plan, and so we have to figure out how to kind of ease the transition. But I think this is a tremendous document. And I don't agree with everything. There's some things I'd like not to see in it, but I think it gives the entire community, with all the input that they've put into this, a document they should be proud of, and something that's just good for growth. And I hope it's not like in 2007 when we thought that the document would outlive all of us, that this 2045, I imagine there's going to be some major revisions before that, because things aren't going to slow down. As long as the quality of this community exists, people are going to be beating the doors down to get here. So, enough said.
Further comments? Seeing And hearing none. In order to move this tonight, we have two parts to this. One, because this is an item of business which we don't normally take at our workshop meetings, we will need to suspend the rules first to move the resolution forward. Following that, the instructions at the bottom of your sheet are incorrect. We're not forwarding a recommendation, we are forwarding a resolution. In your online files on your computer before you, the second file is a resolution approving and certifying the comprehensive plan, which is 26-101. That will be the item that we would vote on to move to City Council once we have suspended the rules. So with that, and with no other comments that I see, I would like to entertain a motion related to the rules.
Move to suspend rules so we can act on this tonight.
Moved by Mr. Horke. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Keene. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bunkerfist,
Yes.
Mr. Horke,
Yes.
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Dr. Keene,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
and Mr. Woniger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Rules are suspended. Now before us, we have resolution number 26-101, and as a note, when you make this motion, it must also include the changes outlined in REA's Memorandum of Plan Adjustments.
Make a motion to forward Resolution 26101, incorporating the changes of REI's memo recommendation.
Moved by Mr. Bunkerfist, second by Mr. Khan. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Horke,
Yes.
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Dr. Keene,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
No.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Woniger,
Yes.
and Mr. Bunkerfist.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes 7-1. Thank you very much for everyone's work on that. We will now move to the next portion of our agenda, which is the workshop item that we have before us, which is 2511-PUD-19, which is the Ironstone Planned Unit Development, which we will first turn to staff, which, Weston, I believe this is yours.
Yep, thank you, President, members of the Commission. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is the proposed Ironstone Planned Unit Development District. The subject real estate is roughly 765 acres in size. The boundaries of this zoning district are generally northeast and northwest of Hortonville and southwest and northwest of the intersection at 6 Points Road and 206th Street. The proposed ordinance would permit a residential community with a mixed-use village center to be developed throughout the establishment of 4 districts. These districts include the Lakes, the Reserve, the Village, and the Horton Square mixed-use block. Each of these have distinct architectural and site development standards included within the ordinance. A public hearing for this item was held at the November 3rd APC meeting, and the first workshop meeting for this item was held at the December 15th APC meeting. Leading up to tonight, multiple workshop meetings were also held. Tonight, this item is scheduled for a workshop discussion. John Dabashewitz of Nelson and Frankenberger is here this evening to provide an update and presentation on the matter. Tonight, if APC is satisfied with the proposal, the department recommends suspending the rules and proceeding. If APC is satisfied with the proposal, the department recommends suspending the rules of procedure and forwarding a recommendation to the City Council. Both the petitioner and staff are available to answer any questions should the Plan Commission have any. And similar to the comp plan, if a recommendation is made, there are developer commitments that will need to be incorporated into any motion made. So, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Dabashewitz, good evening.
Good evening. For the record, my name is John Dabashewitz. I'm a land use professional with the law firm of Nelson and Frankenberger, and we represent the petitioner, Platinum Properties Management Company. Paul Rio with Platinum Properties is with us this evening, as well as Jim Schooner, returning with our office. Staff did a good job of summarizing where we've been from the public hearing in November, December, January, and February workshop meetings, where the primary focus was on the design of the development of the residential areas, as well as project architecture, open space, amenities, tree preservation, and the like. Tonight, I want to focus on the areas of Hortonville. We were asked to delay that presentation until tonight's meeting, whereby the Plan Commission had previously received information from staff at your last meeting regarding Hortonville. So I'll provide that information, a couple updates on the red line that you've received, and then a request from us for the Plan Commission to forward its recommendation onto the City Council this evening, with a couple of adjustments that we discussed with staff prior to the meeting item on your agenda this evening. which we review with them and they're comfortable with. But I'll cover those items at the end of my presentation. So as a refresher, the area that you see on display includes those 4 districts: the lakes, the village, the lakes here, the village, the reserve, and the approximately 8 acres of mixed-use block at the northwest quadrant of 206th and Horton Road. This is the concept that's now on display for that Area D. Area D, under the requirements of the ordinance, shall be developed in substantial compliance with its concept plan. And what does that mean? That means that there'll be a grid pattern of streets as indicated here. There'll be a limited number of blocks to tie into the concept area to the Hortonville Village Center plan, which is a compact area that not only includes this corner, but the other 4 corners of the intersection, the other 3 corners rather there of the intersection and further to the east. Buildings are pulled up to the street with a maximum building setback of 10 feet, so you'll see those buildings right up along 206th Street and Horton Road. There'll be a little bit of additional setback along Horton Road with outdoor seating areas contemplated and on-street parking. So that's very different than the character of Horton Road as you see it today and 206th Street. But that's contemplated and in concert with and aligned with the plan for that village center that was described to you previously in the discussion regarding the comprehensive plan. There'll be low-rise mixed-use buildings that are a minimum of 2 stories, so all the buildings that you see there in the green color along 206th and Horton Road and internal to the site would be a minimum of 2 stories, many of which would be 3. There's required on-street parking along all the blocks. Off-street parking, as you see it here, would be behind or beside buildings, but not along the primary frontage of 206th and Horton Road. Wider sidewalks are provided, as I indicated, along 206 and Horton, and there's open space connectivity provided between this area, which is approximately 8 acres in size. This is that primary pedestrian connection right here that you see into the central location of the village, which includes the 11-acre Foundry Park internal to the site. We had covered some of this, but this is Exhibit F1. Exhibit F1 and F2 are exhibits that relate to the mixed-use block. One includes character imagery and the other includes architectural standards. So in addition to the character imagery that you see here, there'll also be architectural standards for the individual buildings as they come in. So as an overall development plan would be provided, there we have a detailed development plan, and those detailed development plans would appear back on the Plan Commission's agenda in the future for consent agenda approval, so you'd see what each one of those new buildings would look like as the sites were developed. The ordinance requires, however, that auto-centric uses are prohibited. So what does that mean? LB is going to be the underlying zoning classification that's similar to what the city has been using downtown here. It eliminates uses like car washes, automobile sales, drive-throughs. Drive-throughs are explicitly prohibited within this development, so you won't see any drive-throughs. Multifamily dwellings, there won't be any multifamily development. So by way of example and observation, if you go north from where McDonald's is right there at 32, you see buildings that are exclusively multifamily on the west side of the road. There will be no buildings within this development that are exclusively multifamily. Those multifamily dwellings would appear on the 2nd and 3rd floors of buildings. The only first floor components of multifamily would be in the form of leasing centers and or amenities, which could only occupy 50% of a building's ground floor area within the overall development. What might happen on the first floor? The first floor is going to be occupied by small coffee shops, other small offices and other things like that. What does prevent somebody from having a larger format retail center at that location? There's a maximum 6,000 square foot individual tenant size, and that's going to limit and prohibit the development of larger scale retail uses. As indicated on the last item, the bullet point, 6,000 square feet is going to avoid large format retail. These are all components which staff has reviewed and aligned with the comprehensive plan proposal for the Hortonville Village Center concept. But again, this is just one quadrant of that intersection. The other areas will develop, as this will, over the next 10 to 15 years. The next exhibit here just provides you an example of Exhibit F2. These are the architectural standards. Those are submitted, have been submitted previously at the January, February, and March links to the agenda. Again, just additional buildings and how those buildings might present from the intersection, showing outside seating areas and buildings pulled up to the street. Here's an example of on-street parking this could be the hard corner of that intersection. Another item, we met with additional property owners along Oak Ridge, the Adams family. Their home is right here. We met with Miss Adams at the residence a couple weeks ago. Paul and I did, and they had a box wire fence that's in poor repair along their perimeter of their site. It's about 260 feet of frontage they share with the site, and Paul agreed that we would repair and or replace that fence when development were to occur or in advance of development occurring at this location. Additionally, they had been shared some concerns about visibility and about what that buffer looks like. Within the ordinance, before we made an adjustment to it, it would have required heavy toward shade trees within the buffer, and we've modified the ordinance to allow substitution of evergreen trees at the developer's discretion in locations along the perimeter so that we can work with that owner and at the time of development identify locations for evergreens. There were a couple openings in the existing tree line that they wanted to see addressed, and we were agreeable to that. Lastly, a couple additional modifications that I spoke of at the beginning of the presentation. Lot type G was 7,100 square feet with a 55-foot presence. We want to modify that to 6,645. Actually 55 feet in width, but the minimum lot frontage is 45 feet. And the reason for that, as we continue down this path of identifying and negotiating with different builders, we're taking a look at the products that they may intend to bring to the site and wanted to broaden it so we're more, there's more variety today than we had originally envisioned after discussions we've had with builders. Additionally, and in that same vein, this is the overall district map that's we would like the Plan Commission to consider forwarding this evening. There's been some adjustments made to this overall plan, and I'm going to switch to the next slide real quick. This is the lakes area, and within the lakes, there was a modification which showed all these lots as one color, and now you see that they're 3 different colored lot types. And there were a couple internal modifications. Like here, you see 3 different colors on this lot type area. I think there were just 2 lot types previously to that. These are modifications that I think we and staff agree that staff could have approved that adjustment post-zoning approval and before we appeared before the Plan Commission for development plan review. But because we had the information today, we wanted to share it on the plan, share it tonight so that it can be part of the recommendation made to the City Council for that particular modification. In addition to that, there was an adjustment made to the village area. You can see by way of example here, the block that you see there was 2 different lot color types, and now it's a single lot type. And then the run of houses along here was a different lot type and has been modified to the lot type D. I think prior to that, it was a lot type of F. But again, it's just as we continue to move forward and identify different builders for these areas, there'll be some of the adjustments like this happen. We'll review each one of those with staff. If it were to occur and there's provisions in the ordinance that will be in effect to make sure that there's same level of distribution of lot types occur on the final plans as what's being illustrated this evening. This is the reserve, and I think the only thing that changed on the reserve was in this area here, the area that's orange. I think that had been a different lot type. What hasn't changed? Everything before that was alley fed versus front loading is the same. There's been no modification made to the street networking, the street plan, the overall layout of the development, no changes to amenities have occurred. It's only this distribution of different lot types across primarily the village and the lakes that has taken place. With that, I think I'll conclude our presentation. Again, we would be glad to address additional comments or questions that the Plan Commission has, and we would request at the conclusion of the discussion tonight that the Plan Commission consider forwarding a favorable recommendation on the zoning request. 1, with the amended lot type exhibit for the lakes in the village reserve area, and 2, with the amendments to Exhibit D that I shared with you regarding explicitly lot type G and the adjustment made there. as staff indicated, we've also made written commitments. And the written commitments address rentals. They address 3 items: rentals, the dedication of real estate here to the city and potentially for the schools in the future. And the last item is with regard to the development agreement regarding road infrastructure, which was presented to the Plan Commission in December. All 3 of those items are included in the commitments. We included with the submittal that went out to you the exhibits that will be attached to the development agreement on the road impact fee structure. It's our intent to have that review completed between us and staff prior to Monday's council meeting. And the reason I say that, and we just submitted the exhibits, the text of the actual the development agreement still is being reviewed by Public Works, and it's prepared for us to sign. And provided that Public Works doesn't have any comments, we'll sign it and get it submitted before Monday. If they have any suggested changes to the text, we'll make those and still have it signed before that. But we didn't want a draft document released out to the Plan Commission wherein the Plan Commission isn't part of that review process, and the Public Works is. But rest assured that the development agreement is referenced in the commitments and has to happen, and we're proposing it happen as part of your recommendation this evening. So with that, I'll conclude.
All right, thank you, sir. With that, comments, questions, concerns from commissioners? Dr. Keene, are you moving towards a speech?
Let other people go first.
Okay. Mr. Horkay.
I'll start. I'm not sure if I blinked and missed something or if it just wasn't there. Conveying the property to the city, not directly to the school corporation. The reason is?
The commitments will require that we dedicate the real estate to the city, and if after then there's a 10-year window. Within that 10-year window, the city's obligated to transfer the real estate to the schools. If the schools don't elect to utilize the real estate within that 10-year time frame, it would remain with the city for city use. They could develop the site as other types of infrastructure or park space or anything that the city would deem appropriate for the real estate. That was communicated to us by the city as a desire, just to make sure that there was a window. And the other caveat is that the schools use that for classroom use, so it wouldn't necessarily become, if it becomes park ground, it'll be owned and managed and maintained by the city. If the schools were to obtain it, it would need to be used for building services, school use.
Okay, makes sense. The various changes to the lot widths types, is there a net plus minus, or did it miraculously keep the count the same?
There's no net change. The distribution is primarily through types D, F, and G, that window, because that's the sweet spot for the different builders to build those products that are front-loaded. Most of the change didn't affect the alley fed, which is predominant in the village, but it did affect that mix in the middle. As Paul had negotiations and discussions with different builders, they were saying, hey, this makes sense here, this makes sense here, so we made some tweaks internally because we've continued to identify the builder mix.
Okay, I understand, just was not wanting to have some discussion at a subsequent meeting. How did it get this big? So it won't.
No change to the overall number of dwellings.
Okay, excellent. That's all that's on my mind right now, anyway.
Okay. Other commissioners? Councilor McCarty.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of the correspondence we've received today from a resident that lives out in 214. Just wanted to reiterate my perception of outstanding issues, as we have a lot here this evening, of residents that live in the area, and so I just wanted to convey those. Generally, it's the density of the housing types. The density transitions, again, with 214, the lot widths currently permitted up against 214 are 50 feet, whereas the extensions of types J and K would be more appreciated and appropriate than at a 90 feet and 110 feet as opposed to the 50 feet. The townhomes, apartment units, again, certain amount of them might be appropriate here, but at 230 townhomes and 250 apartment units, that's a tough pill to swallow for the existing residents. The location of amenities, the overall tree preservation discussion, and then I know a big concern also has been the maximum builder percentage, and currently it's still being over 50%. So just wanted to mention those items as it's been conveyed through the process.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Keene.
My comments not going to really be about the development per se, but some comments that we've gotten in. I've worked with Mr. Rio since 1998 when he developed Countryside. He did not sell the school district, he did not give the school district the property for Oak Trace, he sold it to us. So there's a point of irritation there with what's here. But I've always found him as a developer to be a man of his word. He said he's going to do stuff. He did it. And if he couldn't do it, he would come and explain why things may happen. And there are some comments that come in that question his integrity. And I think that that's just wrong. And I just wanted on the record that I think that those comments were wrong. I think he is a man of integrity. I do think that there are builders who will come in who there may be some problems with, but that's not the developer. The developer has to deal with that builder. And I also believe that when we adopt this, assuming we do, the staff that we have will ensure that everything that is in the ordinance will be enforced. It is not going to be, oh, yeah, we passed it, they can do whatever they want to do. I have a lot of faith in the quality of the staff to enforce the ordinances. So I'm only saying that because sometimes we get off track as to the topic and start attacking people, and that's wrong. We should stick with the issues, and in this case, I just verbally wanted to make sure to state that the record that I've seen over the past 20 years, basically, more than that, isn't it? 25 years, has been a quality developer. So, enough said.
Can I real quickly weigh in as totally agreement? I started doing this kind of at the tail end of when Countryside was coming through, but was very much meeting after meeting after meeting for what seemed like an eternity while Paul was working on Maple Knoll. What Maple Knoll is today very much seems to be, from my memory, which is old, but worked on it a lot, what he said he was going to do. So I read some of the correspondence similar to you and found the way it was characterized as very unfortunate, because it shouldn't come to somebody feeling that way. If they have those feelings, they should figure out a different way of expressing them and not just throw out random derogatory comments that some of us that know better recognize as not being accurate.
Further comments from commissioners?
I just have one. I do like the layout. I think there's quite a bit of different housing. I love the green space. But I have one little comment on that 40-acre parcel for the schools. You know, there's a lack of places for people to play softball and things like that. So I would suggest that not go unused and then perhaps used for a good purpose until the schools know what they want to do with it, or the city.
Mayor.
Yeah, this is Scott Wills, Mayor City of Westfield. Bingo. Yeah, we're talking about that as well. Look, we got a lot of needs right now between WYSI, city parks, schools. Our hope is, and the reason I approached the developer with the request of 43 acres is because if we're going to put this kind of an impact in an area, we need to be thinking about our schools. And I can tell you there's going to be future developments coming. Similar things are going to happen there as well. But the school owns a lot of land, and I'm not sure they quite understand yet how they're going to build out the rest of their infrastructure. We actually have a meeting scheduled. We just started laying the foundation to meet between the school board, the city, council, representatives from the community to talk about future locations. Until that's clear, I wanted the flexibility so if they don't use it, the city can activate it. So yes, maybe some open fields for our WYSI teams. If the schools figure out in a couple of years, hey, we're not going to put an elementary school there, we can activate it as a park or maybe donate the land to WYSI. I think the key here is it will be public use It will be green space of some sort if the schools don't activate it. We're not going to put like a transportation center or something up there in that area.
Further comments?
I'll make just a,
Mr. Buckfist.
yeah, I'll make a quick one. Obviously, first seeing this in November to now, John, I feel like I've thrown a lot at you personally. Very appreciative of all that you and the developer have done to accommodate those requests. Outside of that one small subdivision, I feel like we've gotten far together. So thank you very much.
With nothing else, I'll echo those comments. Talking about the history of the comp plan, this just falls right into that same line. You know, we see time after time, you know, infill projects and 80, 100-acre projects, and those are always going to come and happen. But the intentionality of this project and those that will come after it are what will make Westfield strong. We know that growth is coming. We can't stop growth, but we can do it in the right way. And I believe that this project starts us down that path. So thank you again for 4 workshops is a lot of workshops for anything. We appreciate your patience, your details, your work with staff, and with this commission and the city. With that, instructions for this vote would be that we would suspend the rules in order to move it to have the ability to forward a recommendation, and then based on that recommendation should include the developer's presented amendments and commitments for tonight. Does that sound correct? I'm seeing affirmatives from everybody. With that, I would entertain a motion on suspension of the rules.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Moved by Councilor Wanninger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Horke. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Khan,
Yes.
Dr. Keene,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
No.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Waniger,
Yes.
Mr. Bunkefist,
Yes.
and Mr. Horke.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Rules are suspended 7-1. Would take a motion related to a recommendation to City Council on this matter.
Make a motion to recommend 2511 PUD 19 to City Council, noting the developer commitments and the amended lot type exhibit.
Motion by Mr. Bunkefist. Is there a second?
I think that'll need to include all the exhibits, not just the lot type exhibits that were presented.
Make a motion to recommend 2511 PUD 19 with the developer commitments and updated amended exhibits.
Amended motion by Mr. Bunkefist. Second by
Second.
Mr. Khan. Any further discussion? Staff, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Keene,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
No.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Mr. Waniger,
Yes.
Mr. Bunkefist,
Yes.
Mr. Horke,
Yes.
and Mr. Khan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes 7-1. Thank you very much. We have no other workshop items for this evening. There are 3 items that are continued to a future meeting. You see them there before you, as well as proposed dates. Oh, and thank you, John and Mr. Rio, for your presentation and being here tonight. Thank you. Thank you. 3 items that are continued. You see those there with dates that are subject to change. If you have any questions, we can address that with staff afterwards. Moving to reports and comments. Any reports from Plan Commission members to each other? Seeing and hearing none. City Council Liaison, Councilor McCarty.
Haven't met in between last Wednesday and tonight, so I'll have an update for you next time.
Very good. Board of Zoning Appeals Liaison, Dr. Keene.
Reported last week, so.
We're done. This is my favorite one. Plat Committee Liaison, Mr. Horke.
I'm glad to know this. Come on, there we go. I'm really glad to know this is your favorite one. Obviously, we didn't meet either in between last meeting and now, and today I got the notices that the meeting for this coming Monday is canceled.
Well, better luck on the next one. Staff to the commission.
Yeah, just a couple things. Dr. Keene, first, I wanted to thank you for your comments regarding my team and their diligent work. I do appreciate that very much, and it's well-deserved. One item of note, this is a little bit different for us, so I just want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. The green building that moved, was that just last week? Gosh, it feels like a long time ago, but it was just last week. We anticipate a detailed development plan coming before you very soon on a consent agenda for that to finalize the plan there. The unique part of this, and I want to give you a heads up, we will be very likely requesting that the landscaping plan be delegated to staff for final approval. Really reason being just that plan is not yet finalized. We're still working through some of those issues with the development team, but do feel like we need to move forward with approving the rest of the development plan at this time. So just want to put that on your radar. If anybody has any questions about that, please let me know. I'm happy to talk about that. And then lastly, back in April, we will be back to our normal schedule and normal locations. April 6th will be your normal business meeting, including any public hearings that we have for that meeting. That will be here at 7 p.m. at City Hall. And then April 20th will be the workshop meeting in April, and that will be back at City Services again at 7 p.m. Thanks.
And if you don't know what that schedule is, since we've not lived it all this year, you can find that on the website. If there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor McCarty. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bunkefist. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:40 p.m.